Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get Well, Live Strong. I'm so glad that you're here. You know, on Monday, we learned that 7 signs that indicate that perhaps your metabolic health is improving. And I hope that you're experiencing at least some of those already. And then yesterday, I sent a very heartfelt message to you. And if you missed both of those videos or either one of them, I will put a link down in the comments section for you so that you can go back and watch those. I really think that they'll be worth your time. Before I get started on today's message, I just wanted to share something with you. I got a comment on one of the videos this last week from a lady who was asking me if I had a video on the coffee that I drink. Well, that kind of took me by surprise because I don't really do anything special. I don't make up a Reba breakfast coffee concoction or anything like that. But the whole issue with coffee in the morning and, being metabolically healthy is surrounding cream and sugar. And so I thought that maybe I'd share my experience with you at the beginning of this video that maybe help you on your pursuit. First of all, to answer the lady's question, I don't do anything special with the coffee itself. I personally drink half calf because I have so much energy and everything already. To try to add full caffeinated coffee on top of that, it's like giving me a shot of adrenaline. I just get all kinds of energy. I'm rapid speech and my heart palpitates and all that. So I just cut that in half. I use half calf coffee. And the only thing that I do that I didn't used to do is that I put heavy cream in my coffee. And then I like it a little bit sweet. So I don't use sugar. I don't use sweet and low or anything like that. I use KAL pure stevia drops in my coffee. That gives it the sweetness that I like. And that's all I do. But it highlights something that part of my journey that I wanted to share with you. I used to be addicted to a nationally branded hazelnut flavored coffee. And as I've told you in past videos, after I retired from corporate America, after I retired from education, I spent that year riding my bicycle around the country. And then I did something that was a radical departure from anything that I'd ever done, a great new adventure. And that was that I went to truck driving school. And I spent 9 years just delivering food and pharmaceuticals to America as a truck driver. Well, when I would come to home time, I literally would go to 5 different stores to get enough of those small bottles of my favorite hazelnut creamer that were small enough that they would fit inside the refrigerator in my truck. And I would have enough until I came home the next time. One day I was walking through the dollar store and I was walking down a dry shelf aisle and in the dry goods, and I just happened to glance over and I saw my nationally branded hazelnut creamer, and it was right there on the shelf. And I thought, oh my gosh, they put it in the wrong place. But then as I kept looking, I noticed that there was a little subtle difference in the label. And it had, in addition to the big yellow label, it actually had a little bit of, I think it may have been silver in it in places. And I grabbed that bottle off the shelf and I walked around to the dairy case and I opened it up and pulled out a bottle of the refrigerated, nationally branded creamer. And I checked both of them side by side for the ingredients, and they were exactly the same, word for word, ingredient for ingredient. They were exactly the same. Now, for most people, that would have been a huge red flag. But I'm a little slow sometimes. And for me, it was an answer to prayer, because now I could just grab that hazelnut creamer off the shelf, put it over my bunk, store it over there, and then I could have as much as I wanted. And then just pull it down when I needed it, a new bottle, and I didn't have to have my refrigerator completely filled with hazelnut creamer. But then I got ill. I had insulin resistance. I became metabolically ill. And then pieces started fitting. In order for that same hazelnut creamer that they put in the dairy case to be on the shelf, exact same ingredients, there couldn't be a shred of dairy or milk or cream anywhere in that recipe. And so I changed one thing about my habits and my daily habits that made so much difference. So that's why I want to share with you today 6 habits that you can do starting today that will make a huge difference in your life. So you ready? Let's get to it. The very first one is eat real food. That creamer was not real food. It was artificial food product. Eat real food. Eat real meat. Eat real vegetables. Don't eat processed foods. Don't eat foods that you can buy on the shelf. Make your own food out of the ingredients that you know you have. It's really not that hard to do. Build all of your meals around whole foods. The second one is to walk after meals. And I don't mean walk after meals like tomorrow after tonight's meal. I mean right then and there, get up, and ladies, leave the dishes on the table temporarily. Head right out the door and go for a walk. And I'm not talking about a power walk. I'm not talking about walking to the other side of town and back. I'm not talking about a run. I'm talking about a 5-minute, 10-minute, 15-minute stroll. And on Friday, I'm going to tell you exactly why that is the case. I'm going to break it all down for you and explain to you why that one habit is going to change your life and change your metabolism. But for now, just trust, if you can, to get up from the table, go out, take that walk immediately, then come back in, do the dishes, put the dishes in the dishwasher, or whatever you need to do. It's simple, and I promise you that it will change your life. Habit number 3, we really need to prioritize our sleep. And I got to tell you that this is one that I really had a lot of struggle with in my own life. And when I go back and think about how things progressed in my life, it has been ongoing for quite some time. And I believe that maybe it started back when I was a police officer, because when I was a police officer back in the 70s and 80s, we rotated shifts. One month we'd be on the day shift, 7 to 3. The next month we would be on the evening shift, 3 to 11. And then finally we'd be on the midnight shift from 11 to 7. And so every month I was on a rotating shift, and my best shift for my body was the 3 to 11 shift, and I had barely slept at all on the midnight shift when I was awake all night and then had to try to sleep during the daytime. It just didn't work for me. And I think that it went downhill from there. And when I had a very stressful job and I worked all day on a computer and, was working in corporate America, and I didn't get a whole lot of exercise, and I think it just snowballed from there. And then the crowning blow, I think, was when I became a truck driver, because I rode all over the country, and it was not uncommon at all for me to pick up a load today, drive all day, spend the night, drive to my delivery point the next morning, deliver that load. Then I had to pick up another load that night and drive all through the night to deliver the load. I never had a normal sleep cycle, and so I believe that was kind of the crowning blow. So you really do need to regulate your sleep cycle. And there's a couple of things that you can do to help that. Number 1, you need to try to aim for a regular bedtime. And, whatever it is, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever it is for you, you need to try to do that every single night if you possibly can. I know sometimes it's not possible, but for the most part, that's what you need to do. Another thing that you need to do is, remember when I was talking about taking that walk right after your meal? Well, if right after that evening meal, if you shut off all of your electronic devices, turn the TV off, turn the phone off, turn the iPad off, and just not have that blue light in your room, in your day at that time, it will really go a long way to helping your body start shutting down, so that when it is time for you to go to sleep, you'll be able to sleep. Habit number 4 kind of goes hand in hand with that. They run in tandem with each other, and that is managing your stress. I know that sometimes we work jobs that are not good. They're very stressful. You may have family situations that are very stressful. You may have other things that are going on that you can't control, like the weather and storms and hurricanes and all of that, that you can't manipulate, that you can't do anything about. But there is one thing that causes more stress in your body than anything else that I just named. And it's the one thing that you have total control over, and that is your food stress. Because when you're constantly taking things into your body that your body doesn't recognize, it doesn't like, it has too much of, all of those things, your body becomes stressed. It's overworking, it's trying to adapt, which that's the way God made our bodies to do, is to adapt, adjust, and come back to that homeostasis again. That's what God created our bodies to do. But when we keep putting in things that it's not supposed to have, it gets stressed. And when the body becomes stressed, we become inflamed. And at that moment where we start getting that chronic inflammation in our bodies is the moment that insulin resistance begins. So you do have a lot of control over your stress. And that's a habit that you can easily get into. Habit number 5 is especially important right now because it's summertime, and that is to stay hydrated. Every system, every organ, every cell of your body needs hydration. And right now in the summertime, I live in Texas, it's in the hundreds every single day, and it is very easy for me to get dehydrated just by walking outside to the truck or walking down to the barn. And I have to stay hydrated. I have gotten into the habit of, when I wake up in the morning, before I even drink my coffee, I open the refrigerator, I have hydration fluid already pre-made, and I drink about a half a bottle of that. That immediately gets salt and potassium into my body that I've lost overnight, because I micro sweat, and when I pull, I like to snuggle, and when I pull the covers up over me, then inevitably I sweat during the night, whether I know it or not, and I wake up in the morning and I'm dehydrated. So that's one step that I've taken that really starts off with immediate hydration, so that I don't face the day with a deficit. And that really, really helps. And it's interesting because some people mistake thirst for hunger. And so they're really thirsty, but they think that they're hungry. And so instead of drinking, they eat. And I have to tell you that at the point that you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. So you want to come to the place that you take in enough fluids every day and enough electrolytes every day, particularly during the summertime, that you never get to that place that you feel thirsty. That's one of the first signs of dehydration, is when you feel thirsty. And I know I used to run long distances, and I would set on my stopwatch, I would set a timer that every 10 minutes I would take a drink. Every 10 minutes I would take a drink. And that kept me hydrated throughout the whole run. So whatever you need to do, you have to make sure that you are well hydrated, particularly now that it's summertime. And then the 6th one, I really love this one. I love them all, but this is just part of who I am. I love to research. I love to do deep dives and get information. I love to learn new things. And so number 6 is actually to keep learning and keep going. You know, you start on your journey, you go for a while, things look great, things happen great, the results are great, and then all of a sudden it seems like you have a setback. You don't really know what it is. Well, start researching that. Come look at more videos, you know, look, talk to other people, figure out what's going on, make that adjustment, and then go. Keep learning as you go along. You're going to learn your body, you're going to learn the effects of things on your body, and you keep tweaking and tweaking and tweaking along the way. And you keep improving the whole way along your journey. And that really is going to keep you where you need to be. And you need to keep focused on the journey ahead and not what's happened in behind, and not what's happening now. If you're having a setback, setbacks are a natural part of the process. You know, you're taking in new things, you're doing new things. Your body's trying to adjust. It's trying to learn. It's trying to figure out what you're saying and what you need and what you're telling it, and then adjust accordingly so that your body can operate in its maximum capacity. And sometimes it just has to think for a minute. It just has to wait and think for a minute, readjust, take in all the information, synthesize that information, and then come up with a plan to utilize what you're putting in it and what you're doing now and the walks that you're taking and the sleep that you're doing, and so that you'll be able to live in a body that God created for you to do. As I said, Friday, we're going to take a deep dive into walking after your meals. And I believe that that's going to really help you understand why you should do it, and that may give you the motivation to do it. I know that many people, they don't like to do anything after dinner. They just want to veg on the couch, or maybe eat dinner while vegging on the couch. But we're going to make some subtle changes, and I think that it's really going to help you. But in the meantime, I just want to encourage you, because if you take each one of these steps, you could just incorporate one new step every day for a week. And if you do that, by the end of that week, you have really set the foundation for your success. And I know that, you know, when I talk about food and whole foods and, you know, changing that, I know when I first started this, suddenly I was in a situation where everything looked different in the grocery store. My buggy looked different. I was visiting parts of the store that I had not visited, well, honestly, in my life, because I didn't really buy much meat. If I wanted meat, I'd go out and buy a hamburger or something. But I was having, you know, it's sad to say, but at 69 years old, I didn't know the differences in the different cuts of beef. But I learned, and I'm still learning. And that's what I want you to do too. This is a journey, and we're taking the journey together, and with the goal in mind that you're going to be free of insulin resistance, you're going to be metabolically healthy, and regardless of your age, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, you're going to be living the life that God intended for you to lead by living in this body that was so fearfully and wonderfully made by God Himself. So take heart, start these habits, keep moving forward, and I'll see you on the next video. Until then, get well, live strong. God bless.